Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Allie Tefengen. I'm the Education and Engagement Manager at the Hopkins Center. And we are here for our very last book reading of our series, Kids Books with Christopher Myers, Stories of Love, Hope, and Justice. I'm really excited to end this series with this book that Christopher will be reading, We Are America. So I think it really beautifully kind of fits the theme of love, hope, and justice. And this book was written by Walter Dean Myers, an incredible author, and also Christopher's father. And Christopher was the illustrator of this book. And in addition to being an amazing author and illustrator, Christopher is a fine artist, a theater maker, a clothing designer, and has won multiple Caldecott honors and Coretta Scott King honors for his books. And he's also one of the creators of a play called Cartography, which is based on the stories of young refugees from around the world. And Cartography was going to be performed at the Hop this spring. And we hope once it's safe to gather again, we'll be able to show that piece in its live form and that you can all join us for that. So in a second, Chris is going to read this book, We Are America, and we'll get to see the beautiful text and illustrations that go along with it. And then we'll have a chance at the end to ask Chris some questions. So if you have any questions you want to ask him about the book itself, about what it's like to be an author, illustrator, how he goes about his work, you can pop those questions in the live chat off to the side. And at the end, we'll get to as many of those questions as we can. So without further ado, hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hey Ali, how are you? What's going on, y'all? I'm very excited to end this really fun series of readings with We Are America. You know, it's rare that we have such kind of national sentiment, national conversations as we're having now. There are very few moments, there are moments of crisis and moments of pride in which we start to think about what does it mean to be a nation? What does it mean to be a bunch of people who are gathered together under a set of ideals, under a set of hopes and dreams and these sorts of things. And this coronavirus crisis has really made us think about what it means to be together. What does it mean to be a nation? What does it mean that we are related to both the rest of the world and each other? And so it brings me back to this book that I really was so proud to have worked on with my father. It's one of the last collaborations we did. Um, and it's about what America can look like, what America is, what it means to be American. So often, the people who are kind of loudest about being American can not be embracing some of the ideals that are at our core. And that's up to artists and writers and storytellers and people like yourselves and young people to define and redefine what this great experiment of a country is. And so this is maybe one drop in the bucket of a discussion about what it means to be American. And so without further ado, this is We Are America, a tribute from the heart by Walter Dean Myers, illustrated by me, Christopher Myers. Before there was America, before the ships came, their white sails ablaze against the clear blue sky, my Lakota heart pounded the rhythms of this great land. The warm spirit of the sun burned in my bosom as my sons raced the wind, as my father sat in a curl of legend, as my grandmother stitched the giving earth to the distant sky. A golden eagle, his wings spread like the great spirit's open arms, flew over my people and the Comanche and the Iroquois. Its shadow passed Navajo and Hopi. It soared and soared while sitting in the warm circle of my village. I dreamed. Hold on. Before I knew that there was America, I had a freedom dream. The light and color of discovery lay just beyond the next wave, the next sunrise. I believed there was more than the trembling heart, the careful peering into the darkness, and the promise of the rising tide. I dreamed a freedom dream. I heard a freedom song, the pull of hope, the taut bow of anticipation, the arrow of adventure flying across the ocean. I found an endless land, its promise flowering in lush fields, purple mountains etching their majesty in the pure air, flat plains that absorbed the warm summer rains, canyons that swallowed the imagination, and freedom. Freedom like water on the tongues of thirsting men, freedom as sweet as young love. Before there was an America, I lit my fire at the mouth of the Congo. I watched a dark wisp of smoke cut a silver moon in half, knowing it was a praise prayer. Before there was an America, I forged iron in Guinea and brass in Benin. Each morning I summoned the sun over the Ogun River. Each night I watched the sunset as it bled behind the mosques of Timbuktu. I found no freedom in this strange land, but freedom lived in my heart like an eagle longing to fly. We called ourselves Bostonians, New Yorkers, Georgians, Americans. We were the youth that could not fail, planting our high ideals in virgin lands and eager hearts, making vows forever brighter than the world we would live, the story we would live, pledging an allegiance to liberty and justice that would forever mark us as a people. We raised up factories and farms, great houses and small. We were determined to build a new world, structures that to challenge the pyramids, a free society busily creating a universe that only we could imagine. We defied the dazzled world, and still we wanted more. We wanted to be free of tyranny, free from kings and queens, to pursue our own ideas, our own destiny. No, we demanded it. We were willing to die to forge our dream, knowing it was not enough to simply be. We needed to create ourselves in the image of the new mind, separated from our past, our history. Our poets, Jefferson, Madison, Franklin, Washington, Adams, Hamilton, wrote the verses that made revolution irresistible. We danced a youthful dance in wild celebration of who we were. Like clumsy children, we fell. As we learned to run, stumbled as we invented our own truths. We were America, but we were also thousands of souls smothering beneath the hatches, a chorus of chaos filling the air at Wounded Knee, the shocked stillness at Chapultepec Castle. Ambition betrayed us. Power was too strong a temptation, and yet, we could hold up our sins for the world to see, condemning our wrongs even as we committed them. We learn to light the darkness with the blazing torch that is the Constitution. But we moved on, stubbornly, shedding our blood to prove who we were, that we were a high minded people, courageous. We died at Shiloh and Antietam Creek, at Fort Wagner. We suffered at Gettysburg and Atlanta, fell to the earth at Vicksburg, cried out to the lonely night on Lookout Mountain. We emerged wounded and weary, but believing in the idea of a dream that would be forever great, proud to call that dream America. We were machines belching smoke, pushing carts, baking bricks, cleaning sewers, inventing, daring, lifting our hopes to skies that suddenly seemed within reach. We were Irish muscle and Polish pride, Germans and Italians, Africans and Chinese, Mexican and English. We spoke 100 languages. We were laborers building the hugeness, the fantasy that was the United States of America. We built silver rails stretching to the far horizon, factories pounding out iron and steel, cars, planes, steamboats sailing down the Erie, the Hudson, the Missouri, the Mississippi, trolleys across the heart of Harlem. Hold on. We were the flat gold plains of Kansas, feeding a hungry world, the snow-tipped Rocky Mountains scratching God's belly, the twisting route of the Chisholm Trail, the coverlet of bluebonnets along the Texas roadside, bold and beautiful and breathtaking. America. We are America, the land of the free, wealthy beyond belief and not wealthy, the land of equal opportunity and not equal, the land of justice and injustice. And from the tensions, from the struggle between conscience and human frailty, between the great hope of tomorrow and the forever hunger of today, we have found our nation. America, sweet land of grace. We are the United States, the most powerful nation on earth. Give to each of our souls a hopeful start, because we are a great nation, the promise of the free world. Give to each child a freedom dream, to each soul the sweet taste of liberty. O joyous nation, O joyous heart, the United States of America. So that is a version of this book, this thing, this odd problem, this beautiful question, this place that we love, the United States. It's complicated, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it's complicated, but it's interesting. Could probably wrap up, be the motto of a lot of things going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I put it on
Absolutely.
a T-shirt or a poster.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chris. I kind of feel the need to take a collective breath. So if you all can humor me and just take a breath in and breathe out. just letting that book kind of land in your brains and in your bodies. Thanks, Chris. That was really beautiful. So now we get to ask Chris some questions.
I'm gonna drink some
Bless
water.
you. Go for it. So I'm gonna pull some questions that started with, again, we got to work with some third and fourth graders at Mid Vermont Christian School in Miss Blessing's class. So I'm gonna start with some of those, and then feel free to, again, as we go along, put your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those too. So the first question comes from Noah, which I think is a really smart question. It's kind of two parts. So Chris, where did you get these ideas for the pictures? And how did you decide which parts of our history to include?
When someone says to you, make a book about your country, it's almost an untackleable problem. Like there's so many things that you care about that you think of as part of your own legacy. We talked yesterday with Jabberwocky about the ways in which, like, I see myself as part of the legacy of writers and people who've written for children in the world. So Lewis Carroll is part of my life, but also, basketball is a part of my life and all these kinds of things. So similarly, thinking about America, like there's so many things about being American that I have embraced and have made me possible. Like a person like me could not have existed in any other way but in this country. Having to curate that was fascinating. Part of the roadmap was my father's text. And then a lot of the roadmap was just research into what are some of the classic images and thinking that goes into the images that make America. What I mean by that is that the United States is really different than any other country in that it starts with a written document, right? It starts not with like a long history of all these people who happen to be here, because quite frankly, that those people were like pushed out. It starts with a document. It starts with a piece of paper. It starts with a writer. It starts with a storyteller. And in that, I got to think about all of the kind of stories that are being told about America and what is my take on them. So in the course of doing this book, I did research on, who are heroes that are all like first generation Americans? Who are the Americans that we look at who just got here? Because at some point, so many Americans had to find a way to come here. What are the histories that intersect in America? One of the great things about this country is that it's the intersection of a whole bunch of other histories.
Yeah.
And that intersection is what makes us great. And those are some of the kinds of research that I did to think about both what are the images that are very common about America, and then how do I play with those images or make those images reflect my own history more specifically?
Yeah. And I'm going to take a question from the chat, which maybe kind of piggybacks off of that. This is from Miss Blessing. Could you tell us more about the pieces of the large paintings that you showed, again, as individual snapshots up close?
I'm wondering if our benighted and beleaguered engineers can do me one favor. If we could show this page, it's the page. If we could show that page, I would love if that's oh, thank you, y'all. It's about maybe halfway into the book. We can find it.
Yeah, I see. We're gonna flip through it, and then once we get to the page,
that's great.
Point we have to go through it.
No problem. Yeah, thanks so much, beleaguered and benighted support team who has done such a great job on making this all look so good. I think we should flip maybe a few more pages forward. We can flip it on screen. That's great. A little more.
We get to see the book again.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I think we have.
Yeah, it's nearer to the end. I think we're close.
Each of these paintings. Here we go.
There we go.
Each of these paintings. Oh, let's go back one. There we go. Each of these paintings is about 4 foot by 12 foot. And I sweated on these at my studio for a good year and a half. Like I was working, and there's only 14 of them, but each one of them I tried to like bring as much as I could to this page. It's all Americans that I think are like kind of exemplary Americans who are all first generation Americans. And that was what the research that was involved in this piece. So on this page is Gloria coming from left to right. There's Gloria Steinem, Albert Einstein, Yuri Kochiyama, who was a civil rights activist who knew Malcolm X, Fiorello LaGuardia, Thomas Edison, Cesar Chavez, Hedy Lamarr, who I love. Hedy Lamarr was a movie star in the 50s and 40s and 50s, who was both one of the most like glamorous movie stars, but also held the patent on a thing called spread spectrum technology that we use in our cell phones nowadays, and worked for the war effort do as a spy. So that's the kind of thing that I think is so unique about America, is you have these multifaceted people. The physicist Richard Feynman, the architect I.M. Pei, the painter Jean-Michel Basquiat, the boxer Max Bauer, who boxed with the yellow star on his shorts during the kind of lead up into World War II, which was a very distinct statement about what it means to be an American, and the movie star Anna May Wong. So this is the kind of research that I did, was to find Americans that I felt like either were not talked about enough or undersung in various ways, and to sing their praises, not only as like the artists and writers and scientists and creative people that they were, political kind of activists, but also as Americans, and to say that all of that is also part of our legacy and our history. So each page has that much kind of research going on in it, from like who are the physicists I love, and the inventors of spread spectrum technology, to this kind of research is what this book is about. I was very influenced by thinking about murals, and especially like the Mexican muralists who told the story of their nation in these kind of epic paintings. And I was wondering, like, and also some of the American muralists like Thomas Hart Benton, and thinking about like, hey, how do we tell our history in this epic way?
Yeah. Oh, that image is so, I mean, all the images, but yeah, just getting a chance to really look at it for, thanks to our amazing production team for letting us really sink into this image, because, they're so rich. And I think it's fascinating too, how you're sort of like, it's very, maybe a little bit meta, but how in your own process, you're kind of, capturing like the richness and the diversity and the complexity of what America is, and what it can be.
And one of the things that I do think that kids might want to play with is, who are your top 20 Americans? Like thinking about that, saying like they're and getting into their history. If you want to think about what is the history of America, it's the history of a really diverse and strange group of people. And so who are those people for you? Are they founding fathers? Are they people who are artists and writers from today? Like, and thinking about what are the opportunities and the ways of speaking that they have, that are unique to this country, that are unique to the intersection of intellectual traditions that live here.
Right. Yeah. I would love to talk a little bit about, with a couple more questions about the text, because we had a question come from David. Why did you and your dad choose lots of different poems instead of a story, like a narrative story this time?
Well, I feel like one of the main questions, as I talked about earlier, is the idea of how do you hold all of America in a text? And the answer is that you can't. But what you can do is you can pull out a thread here and there. You can say, this is one representative thread. This is a thread about the idea that protest in and of itself is a very American tradition. And then every time people like get together and say, hey, I want my world to be different, there is the specter of Americanness in that, no matter where they are in the world. That is an interesting idea. So we can write about that, and we can write about the idea that self-correcting, that the understanding that you can do something wrong and say, hey, this was wrong, and we did it, but we still think that's wrong. That's also very American. And that's a very exciting idea, to take that thread and to say, hey, we want to do a poem about this. So this is what we did. We tried to do is break down America into dynamics, things that are kind of central to the experience of being American. You can't kind of hold it all. You're going to leave people out. You're going to leave, places out. But in the end, I think that it's important that we try to pull out the things that are important to us. And what's also interesting is that the rest of this book happens not in the pages of the book, but in the edits that someone else could make. And I'm super interested in, like, what does America mean to, let's say, a young new citizen in Gorham, Maine, or wherever you are? Like, there are as many Americas as there are Americans. And so, how does your America look different than my America? I'm interested in that. And I believe that that's what's great about this place, is that it has space for all the Americas that can be.
Yeah. Well, I want to then move into a last question that I have for you, which again, I think kind of connects to the idea that I love what you just said, that there's a different America for every American, and every perspective and experience is going to be different. And I kind of want to just chat a little bit about, and I'm just revisiting this page that says, we are America, the land of the free, wealthy beyond belief and not wealthy, the land of equal opportunity and not equal, the land of justice and injustice. And so that language, I think that portion of the book really felt like it like encapsulated a lot of it, in terms of this, like, it's this and it's also this. It's this and it is also this. Particularly, the book being so deeply loving and patriotic, and also deeply critical in a way that is really important and necessary. And so I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about living in that gray area and living in the messiness, and how I think we can do that better and be able to say, yes, we love this place very much, and there's so many positives to being here, and also we have a lot of work to do. And how we live in that gray area, and make that okay, and be willing to go and live in that kind of tricky, messy place.
Well, as I was saying earlier, one of the amazing things about this country is that it's built on writing. It's built on ideals and poems. Real talk, like the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. These are some of the loftiest kinds of political writing one ever will read. And in that kind of citing of ideals, it's like any ideal. You're always working toward it. You're never fully, you don't fully ever embody it. You're always working toward that ideal. That is what our founding fathers gave us, is not that every dream was realized, but instead it's a lifelong project. It's a nationwide project that we will always be working closer and closer toward the dreams of freedom and equality that have been outlined for us. And that's the way to love America the most, is to work on those ideals, right? So the people who tend to think that we're already done, or that we finished 50 years ago, 20 years ago, yesterday, those are the people who are giving up the fight. And those are the people who have decided that, good enough is good enough for them. But that's not, for me, my vision of what it means to be American. What it means to be American is to have these high ideals, and to struggle every day to get a little bit better with them. And that's maybe a difference between my vision of America and some other people's vision of America. But I'll tell you this much. There is no place in my life that I have ever seen where I feel like good enough is good for me. I want to be as good as possible. I make a painting. I don't think to myself, well, that's as good. That's as good as it needs to be. And quite frankly, this is what the gift of this country is. It's never about good enough. It's about let's keep working, let's make it better. And that's what this country is. And there's always more to do. And that's a gift that we are given.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot, especially now when I think we're looking for a lot of quick solutions, and that they're not going to be, and that just even before COVID-19, there was always a lot of work to do, and
Yeah.
we're going to keep on working, and that's a tricky and beautiful thing. So
Amen. Amen to that. And the idea of work, I love it. I love it because that's the other thing. This country is not a lazy country, and we are out to do the work, and that's always and be that work. The work of taking care of our health, taking care of our old people, or be that work taking care of ourselves and working on ourselves, and that's exciting to be part of this place that is so dynamic. Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ali.
Well, this has been a fantastic 3 days. I'm very, selfishly, I was like, yes, I get to chat with Christopher Myers for 3 days. So I want to just give you a huge, huge thank you for spending your time with us and sharing your art and your heart with us. And yeah, I wish you best wishes for you and your family. Stay healthy and sane and happy. And yeah.
And for you as well, thank you so much for the production team. And thanks for anyone who's listened. Thanks, Miss Blessing, and your class. Thanks for anyone who's been here with us. It's really such a gift to be able to have these conversations in this time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. So yes, thanks for joining us so much. And also, please reach out to me if you have any feedback or things that you would like to see more of for our families and children in our community, especially as we head into the summer. My email is ali.s.tefengen@dartmouth.edu. You can look me up online and also go back to there we go, there's my title, so you can see how to spell my crazy last name. Please feel free to reach out to me. I really love hearing both the positive and the critical feedback, so we can figure out, what you need and how we can be doing things better. But we've loved making this series for you, and we hope you have a great day. Stay healthy and happy and safe, and see you later.